Today's tip is all about Robot Console job and subsystem monitoring. Let's take a look. So first of all, we're going to be talking about Robot Console. Robot Console is the module in the robot product line that handles message automation, monitoring, and escalation. However, also built into this tool is the ability to monitor what we call resources or system resources. Jobs, job queues, subsystems, out queues, IBM MQ, and so forth. So what Robot Console can do over and above the message automation and escalation is it can iteratively monitor these resources. Every minute, every 5 minutes, every 15 minutes, once an hour, we can go out and we can monitor these resources. And if they aren't as we expect, so for instance, if we're monitoring for a job to be active and it's not active, a subsystem to be active and it's down, we will generate a message and you can then escalate that to the outside world. And we'll do that all automatically. We also have a command that you can use to check these resources or any particular resource only when you need it, not based on our timing schedule. So to access the resource monitoring feature of Robot Console, you'll open up the graphical interface and you'll go to Monitored Objects. You'll drop down under Message Queues down to Resource Monitors. Then expand the Types branch, and it's there where you'll see all of the various system resources that we can monitor. Today we're going to focus on job monitoring and subsystem monitoring. So if you want to monitor a new subsystem, right-click on the Subsystems branch, say New. It's here where you'll then populate the subsystem name with the actual location of the subsystem description, and you'll be able to prompt on that. In this case, we're going to monitor one called POS Monitor, where the subsystem description object is in the QGPL library. The priority of any of our resource monitors determines the timing. There's 4 timing values, 1, 2, 3, and 4. By default, that's 5, 15, 30, and every 60 minutes we'll go out there and check the resource. You can also set it to 0, which means it won't be checked automatically, but you can use a command, rbc check resource, in the RBT conlide library to force a check of that at your discretion. For instance, you could put that into a robot schedule job, have it run once a day if you want to. For every resource, you've got a different expected status. In the case of subsystems, you're limited. We can check to see if it's active. We can check to see if it's not active. When we do a check and it's not in the expected status, for instance, if this subsystem is not active, because this is the expected status, if it's not active, we'll then generate a message which can be escalated then, just like any other message on the system. In the case of jobs, we're going to look for this particular job called POS Watcher. You can specify whether it's a batch or an interactive job, or you can say all, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to look for any job with this name. We're, however, going to qualify it slightly, and this is totally optional. You don't have to do this. If you want to look for a particular job running in a particular subsystem, you must monitor the subsystem first, and then you can specify that as a primary resource. So if the POS Watcher job is running in multiple subsystems, this will force the check to only look at this particular subsystem. All right, once again, we're going to check in this case to see if it's active. In the case of jobs, there's a lot of other expected statuses that you can check for. For instance, not lock wait is an option. CPU utilization is an option, and so forth. In this case, we're going to use a priority 1, which I already mentioned. The default on that is every 5 minutes. So what happens if a resource goes down or isn't available, or the job queue is held, or job isn't started? There is a status screen where you can look at the status of your monitored objects. The resource monitor status screen in the GUI, and you will see all of your resources listed, and you have checkboxes at the top. So I want to see those that are failed, those that are passed, or those that have passed their check. I'm also asking for pending. So because our POS Watcher job monitor has a primary resource of POS monitor, what happens with this particular job monitor, because it's qualified, it will go into a pending status if its primary resource is also down. Also, if we check this job and the subsystem is down, we won't send out notification. All right. So for instance, let's say I've got a whole bunch of different jobs running under the POS monitor subsystem. I've got POS Watcher 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we're monitoring all those 10 jobs with Robot Console, and they all have a primary resource of the subsystem name. If the subsystem goes down, we won't notify you because of those 10 jobs that also went down. We'll only send you one notification that the subsystem is down. It just seems somewhat superfluous to send out notification that all those jobs are down as well as the subsystem. So we'll just send you the subsystem notification. So according to this resource monitor status, the subsystem is inactive, and the job, of course, is inactive. Now, for this particular demo, I actually ended the job first, and console sent out notification that the job was down. Then I ended the subsystem. So the notification looks like this. First of all, in the Robot Console GUI, if you look at the message center where your resource monitor messages go, first of all, I got my job notification that my job was not active. And then I ended the subsystem, and then I got the subsystem notification that it's not active. Likewise, I have my message center tied to Robot Alert, so it's sending out notification that my job was not active and my subsystem was not active. Now, if I would have ended my subsystem first, because the job has a primary resource of the subsystem monitor, I would have only gotten the subsystem notification. All right, so let's take a look at that. Let's go to a live demonstration. Okay, we're inside the Robot Console graphical interface, and first of all, I mentioned that there was a resource monitor status window that you can bring up, and that's the tool. To do that, you can also right-click and view the resource monitor status there. Same icon. So currently, everything is checked green. Everything looks real good. All right. To set up new resource monitors, you go to the Monitored Objects branch, go to Resource Monitors, go to Types. If you click on any of these, you will see the monitors that are already set up. So if you do right-click and say New, I mentioned you can prompt right here for the subsystem or job name, and keep in mind that the subsystem description object is what you're looking for here. All right, and if you don't see it initially, you might need to change your library. I'm looking at my library list, but maybe you need to be more specific and actually specify a library. It looks like I don't have any subsystem descriptions in my library, but if I look at RBT syslib, for instance, that's where the subsystem description is for our RBT Sleeper subsystem. In the case of jobs, let's create a new one, and I'll just create one called test job. And let's say I want this to be strictly for batch jobs. Your expected statuses are listed here. Many more statuses available here than in, for instance, a subsystem monitor. So for instance, if I selected not lock wait, when console looks for this job, if it sees it in lock wait, that is not the expected status. The expected status is not to be in lock wait status. But typically, you might want to monitor for a job being active. All right, we've got a couple. I'm going to focus on my POS monitor subsystem and my POS watcher job. Let's go out to the green screen first. Let's do a work subsystem. There's my POS monitor subsystem, and running in the POS monitor subsystem is my POS watcher job. Let's do this. Let's end the job. The job is now ended. The properties of this particular monitor are set at priority 1, so we're somewhere in the 5-minute cycle for monitoring for this job. Also notice that POS monitor is the higher level primary resource for this job. All right, so we can wait here up to 5 minutes to see that the status of this has changed, because this will update automatically, or I can right click and I can force a check. So let's do that. The POS watcher job is not in the expected status. You can see it's now red. All right, so I said we also generate a message. And by default, there is a message center dedicated to resource monitoring. So if you do go to message centers, you'll see a message center called RBC Resource Queue. So by default, all resource monitoring messages go there, and you can see that I'm going to get notified via robot alert that my resource is no longer in the expected status. If I display the message center, you can see there's my 2 messages that the job was not active and the subsystem isn't active. So why do the messages showing up in the message center RBC QSysOper show as response required? Basically what we call, or what I call, a pseudo inquiry message that requires somebody to acknowledge. All right, it does that because of a couple of message sets that we ship with the product, RBC fail and RBC pass. There's another one called RBC pass AR, stands for auto respond, and this is more of an advanced topic. But as far as RBC fail goes, it is tied to a message table. And the message table contains all of the resource monitoring messages that we use internally, and they're all odd numbered messages. Those are all the resource monitoring messages that are bad. Job not active, subsystem active, job queue held, job queue backed up, etc. So we tie that to this message set, or this message rule. And behind the scenes, what the rule is going to do is it's going to take any messages in that message table and it's going to make them response required. So that they show up inside of the message center as requiring a response, and also you will see them via robot alert. They will escalate out via robot alert as long as they're response required. Likewise, there's another message rule or message set called RBC pass. So what we can do is when the resource becomes available again, when the subsystem goes active and the job goes active, we can send you additional notification. So I've just started up the POS monitor subsystem and the POS watcher job. So because I have this RBC pass rule released, and by the way, we ship both these rules on hold, so just release them, you can see we now get confirmation that these resources are now back available. And likewise, I've got emails showing that the resources are back up and running. Now here's a tip. If you don't want to deal with a separate message center, if you actually use message centers to look at messages and respond and acknowledge messages and so forth, you can consolidate these resource monitoring messages into your QSysOper message center. And it's pretty easy to do that, and here's how you do it. So these 2 rules or message sets are tied to what's called a message group called console. It is shipped that way. Message groups allow you to do targeted message automation using a message set, because inside of a group you can specify the jobs or the job user or the message file that you want the rule to apply to. So you can ignore the bottom part of this and just go here and say redirect any messages associated with this message file. This is the message file that contains our resource monitoring messages. Just redirect those to the QSysOper message center. All right, let's test that out real quick. Okay, I just ended my POS monitor subsystem, which also ended the POS watcher job. I did not get notification here in my RBC resource queue message center, and that's because we told it to go to QSysOper. So let's double check that the message is there, and we did get the message that we expected. I ended the subsystem. I did not end the job, so we got a single notification that the subsystem was down. We didn't get the additional notification that any jobs running there were down because of that relationship in the resource monitor. We also have a command RBC hold resource, where you can put a single resource, a group of resources, or all resources on hold. For instance, you might be doing a backup. You need to end a bunch of subsystems to run before you run your backup. You don't want to get notified because it's normal. So you put those resources on hold so they don't check during the backup. Maybe you do this in a before program. And then in your after program, of course, you would do the RBC release resource. So I hope that helps you understand a little bit more about Robot Console job and subsystem monitoring. If you do have any questions on this tip or any other tips, please send us an email at info@fortra.com. Thank you.